Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, no one like you. Oh yeah, one like you. Oh yeah, no one like you. Oh yeah, no one, no one. Hello, hello, how you doing? My angel, my one and only. The only one that I'm missing. Where they bring me joy and blessings. You know that I love you. And I can't wait to say I do. But before we walk down the aisle, I just wanna let you know that you're the finest. May you be the finest being I've seen. You're the brightest. The way you the shine, you the bling like me. You're the highest. When it comes to rating, you're the lead. My princess, my only one lover. And I just wanna let you.
Welcome to another installment of Unveiling Africa, one beautiful face at a time. I promise that I'll bring to you, my audience, the spectacular stories about African people, people who love Africa, people who are married to Africans, and anyone who just finds Africa fascinating. This evening, we have in our presence our lovely Dr. Joy Wosu Lo-Bamijoko. That's a long name, right? She's going to tell us how she came about this name and many more of her stories of her beautiful life. Welcome to this beautiful show, Unveiling Africa. I thank you for coming here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tell me something, Miss Bamijoko. What does your name mean?
That's a very good question. All our names in Africa always
have
mean
a meaning,
something.
yes.
With the exception of course, of the English name.
Well, you bring me
Joy
joy
is
today.
joy.
You brought me joy today.
Mosu is my family name.
Wow.
You know, before I got married. Lo-Bamijoko is my married name.
Okay. And what does that mean?
Mosu is in Igbo means the leader of the warriors.
Okay.
You know, this is the man who leads people into battle.
Okay. Wow.
And Lo-Bamijoko is a coined name. Actually, it comes from Logan Bamijoko.
Oh, wow.
But we didn't want to use the full Logan. We just said Lo and Bamijoko. So the Bamijoko aspect of it is a Yoruba name.
Okay.
Which means stay with me.
Okay.
It's a name you give to a child, for instance, who comes after another child has been born still or dead.
Okay.
And if another child is born after that child, you tell the new one to please stay with me.
Okay.
Don't die.
Go. Yes. Oh, that's good. And I like that about our names, you know, because every name is for a reason and for a meaning.
Has meaning.
Very good.
Yes.
Before we start, we'd like to know who this wonderful person is all about, where she comes from, and how you came to this point in your life today.
My life has been an extraordinary one.
I'm sure it is.
Beautiful life. I always thank God for the life He gave me. I don't know whether I merited it, but I just thank Him for choosing me and blessing me. I am an Igbo. Igbo is a major language in Nigeria.
Yes.
The Igbos.
Okay.
And actually, I think it must be either one of the second or the third major languages of Nigeria. We come from the eastern part of Nigeria.
Good.
And I grew up, I was born in a township called Enugu.
Oh, wow.
It's a big, actually, when I was born, that township was the capital of the eastern part of Nigeria.
You were already born into some interesting, fantastic.
So I grew up in this beautiful, surrounding, beautiful life, At the time I was growing up, I didn't know too much about the outside world, the world outside my surrounding. And we were very happy people. We grew up oblivious of anything at the outside world.
Yeah.
But I was a dreamer. I always dreamt of places that, are out of this world.
Yes.
For instance, I always thought that because my father was a reverend gentleman.
Yes.
And we read the Bible in the family. I always thought that places like Rome, Jerusalem were in heaven.
Wow.
that they didn't exist on this earth. So I was always dreaming about these places, never knowing that one day in my life I will find myself in Rome. And I did. And it was a wonderful experience.
Yes, yeah.
We grew up thinking that everybody in the world spoke English. So when I found myself in Rome and they didn't speak English, I said, oh my God, in my culture, if you didn't speak English, it means you are illiterate. So I was saying to myself, how did they send me to this illiterate country where nobody spoke English? With time, I started to learn that there are so many different peoples in the world, so many different languages in the world, and I was obliged to have to study one of these languages and work in this language. So it's been such. Sometimes when I think back on my life, I question God. I say, why me? Why did you choose me?
Yeah.
But I thank you. Whatever it is that made you choose me, I thank you because I love what you have done with my life.
Right. So when you got to Rome, what were you going to do there? What did
I was sent to Rome on with a scholarship to study music.
Wow.
That's where I did my music.
Oh, really?
I went to some of the best schools in Rome.
Yeah.
Santa Cecilia in Rome.
Yes.
I went to Perugini in Florence. I went to Gioacchino Rossini in Pesaro.
Wow.
I mean, it was a beautiful life.
Yes. And then, when you finished in Rome, did you have to go back home, or did you now think of going somewhere else in the world?
I finished in Rome, and the war started in Nigeria.
Ah.
So I couldn't go back home immediately.
Right.
I found myself I moved from Rome to England.
Okay.
I had an uncle in England.
Yeah.
I had to go to stay with them to wait out the war. And I worked for some time in London. I didn't like London too much. So I went back to Rome.
Right.
And I started a small cottage business in Rome.
Like
I was
what?
doing tie-dyes, batik.
Really? Really?
Painting on clothes and making clothes and selling clothes.
Such an industrious woman.
And surviving on that,
Yes.
Eventually, when the war ended, I decided to get back to Nigeria.
Yeah.
And by then, I had been in Rome for 10 good years.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Now, when you went back to Nigeria, what did you do with your newfound industry? The cottage business you were doing, your new music, the education. Did you think of what did you do for the women, or what did you use it for when you got back home?
I always pride myself in saying that I opened the floodgate to music to women in Nigeria.
Wow.
Because I was one of the first to begin to do folk popular songs. Even though I was trained in the bel canto, type. I sang operas, I sang camera songs, in the Western tradition.
Yes.
But when I got home, it dawned on me that we don't have the tradition for opera. My people did not have the tradition. They will listen to your voice and tell you, oh, you have a good voice, but sing or something we understand.
So you had to adapt.
So I had to adapt. I started writing folk songs and storytelling songs and started recording these songs. And I worked in the radio and television in Nigeria. I was a producer there. So I had the opportunity of, getting my song out to the public.
Right.
And, became quite
popular. See, we're sitting here with a celebrity.
In Nigeria.
Now, in Nigeria. Well, you never know. Those music all spread around the world, and eventually the world will hear about you.
Well.
Like today.
Yeah,
But now, when you started, when you worked in Nigeria, when did it dawn on you and say, then you to decide to come to America? Because we all want to come to America at some point in our lives. And so what?
Not me.
You didn't want to come? So how did you get to America?
My dream had always been to go to England until I got to England and then realized I didn't like England too much, because where we lived in London, and London was such a dreary place. even in the summer.
I hate to concur. I was the same. I was in the same
Even
frame
in the
of
summer,
mind too.
it would be raining.
Rainy and dreary and cloudy.
Look at this thing. So it just bugged me down. I said, this is not what I was expecting. I was just expecting this sunny, airy place where everybody is happy and moving. But London was just so depressing.
Cold, yeah.
So after being in London for, I think I was in London for a whole year. I went on sabbatical from my job in Nigeria. I was a lecturer at the University of Lagos.
Right.
And I took a sabbatical of 1 year to go to London to work with the Commonwealth Association as a music organizer for the association. After 1 year, I decided that
this is not for me.
This is not what I really want. And I was searching. I'm always, I'm a very prayerful person.
Rightfully
and
so.
I believe that everything I've asked God, it's not only He's given more than enough.
Yes.
So one day I was so unhappy in London. I think my unhappiness came from the fact that I had a lawyer, and I wanted this lawyer to try to make them, the Home Office, give me a stay, give me a work permit, so I can earn some money with the Commonwealth thing I was doing.
Right.
And they won't give me this permission.
Oh, they're very strict.
So after fighting for so long, one day my lawyer called me and said, the Home Office, I have a letter from the Home Office for you in my office. Can you come over and pick it up? I said, can you read it to me on the phone? She said, no, you have to come over. So I went over. And somebody was waiting when I got there. So I sat down for a while, and I dozed off. And I had this dream. I couldn't understand what the dream meant. In the dream, I lost my bag.
Whoa.
And I was asking the secretary there at the table, I said, did you see my bag? I think I came here with a bag. She said, no, I didn't see you with a bag. I said, oh my God. Everything I had was in this bag, my passport, the little money I had. So I rushed, still in my dream, I rushed out and looked, everywhere, frantically for my, and I saw my bag in the middle of the highway, sitting there. And it wasn't run over by any car. They were just passing it by. So I waded through the cars, and I went, grabbed my bag, waded through the car, and came back to the sidewalk, looked quickly through my bag, everything was there. I said, oh my God, thank you. So what as soon as I said thank you, I woke up. And I looked, and I saw my bag there. Again, I picked it up to check that everything was there. I said, well, what's the meaning of this dream? My lawyer called me. We read the letter. They said, no, they refused to give me this permission. I should apply again. And if I applied again, it meant I had to pay another $200 to my lawyer. So I told my lawyer, I said, listen, let me go home and think about it. So I got home, called my sister-in-law, and said, this is what I dreamt. Can you make sense of it? She said, let's pray and sleep over it. Maybe the Lord will explain it to us. So we prayed and slept over it. The next morning, she woke me up. Joy, I think I know what it means. I said, what does it mean? He said, the Lord is telling you to go back to Nigeria, that He's going to send you somewhere that is much better than here.
Yes.
I said, how did you come about that kind of explanation with my bag?
In the middle of the road.
And we prayed. That is what the Spirit is telling me. I said, okay, I won't argue with you. So I went home tonight. I called my lawyer. I said, listen, I decided to go back.
Home, yeah.
He said, no, but we can win this battle. I said, no, I'm going back. So I got back. My husband is American by birth.
Okay.
I mean, he just, assumed the Nigerian name, everything.
Okay. Oh,
during the era of the roots, he came back looking for his roots in Nigeria, so he stayed.
Right.
So I remembered, you're born American. I went to him and I grabbed him and I said, you have to go petition for me. I want to go to America.
Yeah.
He said, what? For what? I said, I just want to go to America. Because I'm still trying to live out this dream.
Right.
So I said, where else can be better than England if not America? So after a lot of battle and everything, he agreed and, petitioned for me. I got my green card, and here I am. I came over.
To America. That's how you got here.
And I got here.
Wonderful story. Now you've come to America. You are teaching in America, and then all of a sudden you decide to do what? Write a book.
Well, first of all, I I didn't want to teach at all.
Oh.
Because I was so afraid of the school, the whole educational surrounding system here.
Yeah.
This, student. The first job I tried to get after I graduated from Michigan, a week before I took over this job as a teacher in an elementary school, a teacher was shot by the student.
Oh, no.
And that student was, things were just happening.
Yeah.
That frightened me so much, I packed my things and went back to Nigeria.
Oh, no, you did not. Now, what did you study in Michigan?
I did my PhD in Michigan.
Okay.
That's when I came back to do my PhD.
Good. All right.
So when I came back, I was so afraid to go to teach.
Yes, I don't.
My daughter was urging me, please. I said, no. After that experience, I said, I don't think I want to do it. So eventually, I accepted to look into it. Took all the exams. We have here you have to be certified in everything.
Right.
Even to sweep the street, you have to get certification.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I went through all my certification and everything, and I started to teach. And the moment I started to teach, if I tell you how I taught, you will know that God is alive. I will go into my classroom. I will say my prayer every morning. I say, Lord,
help me out
you
today.
brought me here, you put me here. I want you next to me. Anything that happens here today is your fault because I didn't want to do this, and you insisted I must do it. So here I am. Help me through the day. Wow. And it's a daily thing because the moment you walk into your classroom, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Every day is a new day. Yeah. Every day is a new day. So you never take anything for granted.
So when did you decide to write Mirror of Our Lives?
I've always wanted to. When I was in Italy, I published 2 books in the Italian language. Oh. So I've always written, written articles, journals, everything. And my dream has always been to retire a writer, just to write. So 3 years before I retired, I started taking a course in writing. Right. Because I was forced to take this course. I had a large collection of folk tales and their songs that I was planning to, transcribe into books and everything. Yes. So at a point, I started to transcribe them, and both the songs from the vernacular to English and the songs into notation. And I started sending them out to publishers. And these things were flying back at me with such force that publishers were not even opening my envelopes. They just threw the things back at me. Oh, no. So I started to wonder, what was I doing wrong? No. These are beautiful stories. Why are they not? I started to research and read, and then I found out that some of these publishers don't accept unsolicited, submissions. Yeah. Some who accepted solicited, not solicited, who accepted unsolicited ones, probably don't publish works in the genre that I'm writing. Right. I didn't do all of this research before I started to. So I had to go to school to learn to do these things right. Yeah.
And you came up with.
And this book is the result of the last project of that study. Wow.
It's a wonderful book.
Yes.
I read it in 2 days. In fact, it would have been 1 day, but because I do it on my way home from work. Yes. It was during the train ride, which is like a 45-minute, 50-minute ride. Yes. And I said to myself, this is so fascinating, because it's a story of women in Africa, particularly Nigeria in this case. And I wanted to ask you some questions. When you started writing this book, was it from experience? What inspired you to write about this?
I lived every experience I wrote. You have to write from what you know.
Yeah, because I heard some of this your background history, and I remember some people in the book, and I said, sounds like Miss Nellie or Miss or Tunji's wife or something. But
you can write if from
and embellish it with other things, to make it all exciting.
Somebody was asking me, is this a fiction? I said, yes, it is fiction. Yes. It is a fictionalized story.
Reality.
Yeah.
The story describes 4 different relationships, but with one common thread. Yes. How do you think the empowered woman of today will handle the relationships you wrote about in that book?
this is just a way to let them see that it can never be all that bad in life if you have determination.
That is true.
Look at all the things these women
they
went through.
Yeah.
And each of them was a victor. They succeeded.
They rose out.
They rose over and above. There are many different ways. In there are many different ways. So this is like, if I'm writing to let women know that there is hope.
Yes. And that is why I did a show, actually, because when I first started, my vision was to empower, to inspire, to aspire, or help women aspire for the best, for the greatest.
Yes.
Many people I talked about, especially fellow African men and women, said, "How dare you come out to talk about Africa? And what are you going to talk about Africa? Who's going to come and talk about Africa?" You know, exactly. So I said, you know what? I look around, and anytime I see anything on TV, it's something negative about Africa, nothing positive, nothing inspiring. So I said, maybe God put me out there to do, because I woke up one morning and thought this whole thing out, you know, and I fought and I worked hard and asked questions, talked to anybody I met. I was telling them what I wanted to do, and by so doing, I ended up here today, you know, doing this. You know, I never even dreamt I would be in front of a studio, I mean a camera, interviewing people, you know, extraordinary people like you. Many people I've interviewed, doctors, lawyers, you know, students, young ones too, you know, who tell me stories about exciting, inspiring experiences. And so I said, I came to this point, I said, do you believe that the African woman of today should accept or tolerate what these four women experienced in the name of culture, in the name of keeping the tradition? You know, I mean, how do you reconcile these four women with today's empowered, you know, successful, sometimes independent women?
Sometimes I think of my mother, what she had to go through.
Yes.
And I say to myself, if my mother were alive, I would have still been with my husband. Because she would have tried to explain. That's the way. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for your children. If you don't do it for your children, do it for me. You know.
Well, how about the person? How about the victim? You know. How does she get out of this?
You see, thank God for education.
Yes.
Because that is really the thing that empowered these women here in the book.
I read that. I got that.
Thank God for education.
Yes.
Because if our women, things I wrote about are still happening in Nigeria.
I can imagine.
They still happen, not even in Nigeria, they happen here in America.
Yes.
So,
because when I read that, I said, this is happening here too.
It's still happening here.
Yeah, and among the Caucasians, not just Africans,
it's still
but Black
happening
Americans,
here.
You know?
So, but with education, it gives the woman a choice.
And freedom.
Freedom.
Yes.
You can choose to stay, and that will be your choice. That means that you know how to handle that situation.
Right.
You can choose to leave. Again, that's your choice.
Yeah.
So the bottom line of this whole thing is that women should be allowed
to be educated. Yeah. I agree.
Take Nigeria, for instance. Yeah. We have a whole section of Nigeria where they don't still believe up to today that women should be educated.
Right.
And there's a section where women are struggling by this. For instance, I was a university lecturer, and in the university you have the population of women in the university are more than the population of men today. Because they are struggling, they want to get that education because they know the value. Yes. They know what it gives them. Yes. It gives them a say in their husband's house. Yeah.
I'm grateful to you for writing this, and I really I've sold this. I mean, I've sold this book for you know to many people because I thought it was very inspiring and very you know provocative too at the same time.
Can I help you?
It's okay, no, it's all right. Thank you. And at the same time, go ahead.
Yes.
And in the process, I see the women as heroines of our times, you know, because who would have thought who would have thought that these women would, would turn around, especially the last woman. Was it Abi?
Yes.
Yeah. She said, you go ahead. After being beaten and even crippled,
yes.
she turned back. She was now having her back was to the wall. So she had to turn around and say, you know what, I am going to empower myself and make something of my life.
And she did it hiding.
Yes. And
she did
was
it hiding.
able to do it. That's why women are powerful too at the same
Yes.
time. Now, I usually ask my guests before we run out of time here, what's your favorite African food? Because since it's Unveiling Africa, I always want to teach our audience something different or something about Africa.
I have lots of them.
Just give me one.
Okay, when I was growing up, I loved egusi soup.
Oh, everyone loves egusi soup. I do too. Everyone loves egusi soup.
On Sundays, I would go around women asking them, did you cook egusi soup?
Yeah.
If a woman says yes, I say, I'm coming to visit you. I will go to their house just to eat egusi soup.
Wow. Actually, also, I was going to say, what other countries in Africa would you like to visit if you had a choice besides Nigeria?
Yes, yes.
Just give me
I've
two
always
countries.
wanted to, in the north, Egypt.
Egypt? Okay.
I've always wanted
Why?
to go to Egypt. Oh, the pyramids, everything. I mean, I know, you see, I believe the ancient Egyptians were blacks. And you can see it from the drawings, the paintings, and I would like to go and visit those places.
I enjoyed reading this book, and I wish we had more time. Time is, we don't have much time left, but I encourage everyone to read this book to learn more about the African empowered woman and where they've come from, especially beautiful women like you, who have sustained and grown against all odds. This is one of the reasons I do this show, because I want to tell the world that there's so much about Africa that they need to know about. And we're not just poor, lazy, sick, looking people. We're very intelligent, very proactive, very strong, resilient women. And you're a testimony of that. Yes. The fighters, they never give in to any of the odds that come against them. Yes. I thank you so much for coming to my show, and I really do invite you to come back to talk about this more about the book or any of the endeavors that you come across in your lifetime. Thank you. I welcome you anytime. I wish you the very best. I know you're going to go places. Come back and tell us about your success. About the show. About the book. Yes. And I know you recently won an award or got an invitation.
The book was selected to be showcased at our teachers' convention. Okay. And I'll be going there in a week's time. Oh, good. Come back after that and let us know your experience, how that went, Thank you. And also, just let the world know that people are doing things like this, great things. Yes. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be, to have my guests come tell you about Africa. So many beautiful things about Africa that we are yet to even discover or unveil. I thank you so much again. You can always check me out on my different channels all over the city, the tri-state area. We're going into Jersey and Connecticut, upstate New York. We are there. Check your local listings and you'll see, the very best of Unveiling Africa always. Thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed having you here. Thank you. And, come back and tell us about the book selection committee, whatever happened with the book, okay? I know you're going to go to Facebook. I hope so. I sold it already. I told a lot of my friends, I said, you've got to listen to this. You've got to read this, this book. And, stay with us. Like your name says, Lo-Bamijoko, stay with us. Don't go nowhere. And write more inspiring stories. It's always a pleasure to have inspiring women like you empower us. And make us inspire.
That I love you, and I can't wait to say I do. But before we walk down the aisle, I just wanna let you know that you're the finest. Like you be the finest being I've seen. You're the brightest.